Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Teaching. I've got to figure out which camera I'm looking into. It's Wednesday, Let's Talk Teaching, the last Wednesday of every month, and I cannot believe we're already heading into June. Can you believe that? June, it's exam season. I think everybody's crazy busy getting ready for assessments, but here we are. We're together. We've got an hour together to talk about the vision connection between how children learn to read, or how we learn with our eyes. And so my name is Philippa Fabry, and this evening I'm joined by Zakkie Abdol. He's a behavioral optometrist in Port Elizabeth, and in a minute I'm going to introduce him. But I wanted to just encourage you, if you haven't joined the Education Services Facebook group, please do so. Every so often we are adding resources to our Facebook group with a link to our Google Drive. And we're just adding some resources into that with regards to neurodiversity in the workplace. You know, we're so focused on making sure that our children are catered for in the classroom. But what about colleagues who might be struggling with various neurodivergences, whether it's an autism or an ADHD or dyslexia? We often forget that we're people too, and we need to also be looking after our colleagues and our staff. And so making sure that our schools are very inclusive and accepting and accommodating of all children, as well as the adults that are in the schools too. So have a look. If you are not on the Education Services group, please join that Facebook group, and then those resources will be made available to you. Education Services is here to help teachers as well as parents and our learners in our schools. So without any further ado, welcome, and I'm going to introduce our guest this evening, Zakkie Abdol. That's great. That's a lovely little sound bite there. Hi, Zakkie. Welcome to Let's Talk Teaching.
Hello, Fabry.
So can I introduce you, if you don't mind? Do you mind if I read your bio? Because I think teachers need to know your background and why I'm so excited to have you join us this evening, because I know you're passionate about education. I know you're passionate about helping teachers to, I suppose, equip teachers to know how to look out for these problems, because sometimes teachers are the first people to pick up that there might be a vision concern. So Abdul graduated, Zakkie graduated from the University of KwaZulu-Natal in 1993 and worked as a locum in a number of practices, each with a different patient profile. He has been in private practice in Port Elizabeth since 1995. The behavioral approach to optometry was a great source of intrigue into the holistic nature of the individual. And this, coupled with the intrinsic love of children, of which he has 5, and one of them, I think he's very proud that she is also becoming an optometrist, or is an optometrist, a junior optometrist, and a good support structure of colleagues started the quest to better the lives of many. Continuous reading and interaction with various academics enabled Zakkie to understand and apply many of the foundation principles in everyday practice. With the advent of COVID, more courses and information became available online, and many more patients benefited, significantly improving the quality of their lives. Mentoring colleagues over the years has also undoubtedly been a great source of learning. Zakkie has assisted scores of patients, and help me, I hope I'm saying this right, Amblyopia. With amblyopia, is that right? Lazy eye syndrome. Autism, concussions, dyslexia, double vision, psychological trauma, strabismus, which is squints, and strokes. He is actively involved in promoting optometry's role in learning, and regularly presents to educators, pediatric healthcare professionals, schools, and parents. He thrives on having a close working relationship with audiologists, chiropractors, occupational therapists, psychologists, remedial teachers, and speech therapists, bringing to the fore his passion for all the disciplines to work together. It is imperative that this holistic model has to start at an undergraduate university level in order to provide the best level of care for every individual. I'm going to finish off with your qualifications, Zakkie. You have a B Optom, a Certificate of Advanced Studies from New England College of Optometry, a Dyslexia Diagnosis and Therapy from the Stark Griffin Dyslexia Academy, Amblyopia and Strabismus, Traumatic Brain Injury, Vision and Learning Related Difficulties from the Cedarville Vision Therapy in the USA, and an OEP in Art and Science and Vision Therapy 1 to 3. I hope I said that right. Thanks, Zakkie. Welcome.
Thank you, Philippa. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. So, Zakkie, what is it that you are wanting teachers to take away from the presentation today?
I'm wanting teachers to be more observant and be able to make the correct referrals to whichever professional is required for the child. So whilst we are focusing a lot on optometry, we also become the gateway to other professions, because we cannot solve all the problems in optometry. Neither can we do it in speech or in OT or in psychology, where we need a village to raise a child.
Yeah, I love that you put the disciplines together, because I think often we operate in silos. You know, the remedial therapist doesn't always talk to the speech therapist and the occupational therapist, even though we are working with the same child. There somehow has to be this sort of collaboration when we're dealing with a child and we're providing that intervention and support.
Yes.
So are we going to have some slides, Zakkie? I think we've got some slides ready there. So we're going to go through the presentation and then hopefully have some questions at the end. I'm sure the teachers will have some questions for you at the end. So over to you.
Okay. So just as a disclaimer, I'm not a specialist in anything. I just like working with children. I find them so much more interesting. There's never a dull moment with them. So that's what takes the monotony out of your routine jobs. So children are much more exciting. Okay. So our topic here is learning the visual connection. So we follow a behavioral optometry approach because everything has to be a bit more holistic. And very importantly, if you look at the quotation, okay, can you see the quotation there? Yes. The mind stretched to a new idea never goes back to its original dimensions. So those of you who did psychology at university, you would know that one of the definitions of learning, it's information which results in a permanent change of behavior. So after you've learned something, you cannot be the same, whether it be an act of commission or an act of omission. Commission where you're going to do something, or an act of omission you learned, well, that's not a good thing to do. So if a person learns that to play with a snake is not a good thing, he's learned something. Yeah. So we've paraphrased it here that good vision is more than 20/20. So 20/20, we have our American notation that at 20 feet, you should see what you should be able to see at 20 feet. So we have a more British system. So we use at 6 meters, you should see what you should see at 6 meters. For example, if a person has 6/12 vision, they're seeing at 6 meters what they should see at 12 meters, which for simplicity's sake, you would say 50% vision. Okay. And it would be measured with finite objects. Okay. Now, decisions are always easier. Oops. Did that thing just slip off there now? Tapes. Let me just get us back into the slides here. Okay, yeah.
There we go. There we go.
There. Okay. So the top part, that's easy to see. And this is what general optometry focuses on. Can you see clearly? Okay. And with spectacles, vision is clearer. So this is the easy thing. But as a teacher or as a parent or as a professional, you're not really aware of what happens. So you have to look at the behavioral signs of what poor distance vision is. They'll start frowning. Okay. They'll start copying incorrectly from the board. They'll move closer to the board, or they'll even copy from the child next to them. And this obviously becomes a disturbance to the next child. Now, what you will also notice that these children that cannot see far, they'll avoid ball sports because it becomes dangerous. And now, so 1 in 4 children will struggle in school because of the dangerous assumption. Some people make that 20/20 eyesight means that the child's vision is normal. And that's what we go when we go for a routine eye test. We want to just see, can you see far? Okay. But learning related visions is a different kettle of fish. Okay. I mean, if your vision is unstable, this is how you see. So if you just go on to clarity, yes, clearly we can see, but the vision is unstable. But the moment you make something stable, even if there are spelling mistakes, even if it seems unintelligible, we have the ability to read it. Ability in vision. So we know what 20/20 is. Now, what does it not mean? And what does it not entail? That the child can see the board at the end of the day when they're tired, they can read without blurred or double vision, and they can use their eyes to guide the pencil when writing. And most importantly, we need to derive meaning from our visual input, because this is the object of vision, to derive meaning. So in short, 20/20 eyesight is no guarantee that your child has all the visual abilities to succeed in school. So in fact, how well they see at 6 meters has very little to do how their vision functions at their reading and learning distance. Incidentally, if you want to measure the ideal reading distance for any person, what you would do is you measure from the first knuckles to your elbow. That distance there would be the ideal reading distance for any person. So for a child, it might be 25, 30 centimeters. For an adult, you might have 40 centimeters. An adult who's taller might read at 50 centimeters. So this is where your ideal reading distance actually is. So this phrase 20/20 gives both parents and teachers a false sense of security that vision is normal. And this is what happens when you go for routine eye testing or when you go for school screenings. School screenings are there. Really, it works for your underprivileged schools. You want to pick up the elephant in the room. So is it effective? Yes, they're going to pick up your obvious problems. They're going to pick up perhaps if there's a significant difference between the two eyes, like you read earlier, amblyopia for lazy eye. But the sensitivity and specificity for general problems is not that good. So it's very sensitive to high prescriptions and to short-sightedness, but it's not very sensitive to hyperopia where people cannot see it near. So effectivity? No, not really. Especially you'll find a lot of the children with learning problems, their eyesight, their clarity of vision is actually very good. So you will, if you're going to do a screening and just your basic eye test, you'll see they can see 6/6. But they have, like the first picture, they have instability in vision or they have eye tracking problems. Okay. So a colleague of mine always has this quotation: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So what we're trying to do here is we want you to change your perception and you want to change your outlook at what does vision actually entail and how does it affect everything else in life. So there's a difference between eyesight and vision. So eyesight is actually the ability to see. This is your 6/6 vision. But vision is the understanding of what is seen. You must be able to take the information, process the information, and produce a meaningful output. I don't know if any of you saw the movie Like Stars on Earth. It's a dyslexia movie. You can buy it on Takealot. It's probably 100 Rand. It was done in India. Yes.
I've seen it, yeah.
And you've seen it. And the research was actually very good because they worked with some dyslexia academy. And so when you do buy the movie, click on the, don't read the subtitles, click on the translated version, okay? And you can see the actions, you can see the facial expressions of the child. And at one point, the teacher is trying to convey to the father that the child has dyslexia. And the dad just says, no, he's just lazy. And the father is just not understanding. So what the teacher does is he takes a toy box which has, and all the writing is in Mandarin, it's Chinese. And he tells the father to read this. And he says, no, I can't read. And he starts badgering him. He says, read it, you lazy, you don't want to try. Then the father realizes that although he can see, he can't understand it because he doesn't possess the skills to decode what the language is.
Yeah.
So vision is the understanding of what is seen. So we have in behavioral optometry something called your Skeffington circles. So Skeffington was optometrists who really pioneered behavioral optometry way back in America, I don't know, 80 years back maybe. And what helped him was having interaction with colleagues from different professions. And also many of the optometrists who came in had studied other professions first. Some were in biochemistry, some were in physiology, some were in psychology. And they brought this knowledge with them into optometry, and from there things started to expand. So if you look at the development of the child, the first part the child needs is anti-gravity. Where am I in space? You need posture, you need stability, okay, and you need balance. If you don't have this, you have no foundation to work on. So we know your vestibular system is important. So that's what we need for balance. Then we need proprioception. We need to know where am I in space, where are my joints, where everything in space. And from our visual perspective, whatever comes into the eyes, 80% of the information goes back to your what's called your visual cortex, right on the back of the brain. But there's 20% of these optic nerve fibers, which are probably, I think, close to 1 million fibers, that they go somewhere else. They don't actually go to that. And this is the part we don't focus on, because at least 50% of your brain is connected to vision. So this goes to the midbrain. Okay. So now we need to always do something. So we've always been told that our vestibular system is actually for balance. So what I'd like everybody to do, wherever you are, stand up and just make certain everything's out of the way. So you stand up, put your arms out to the sides, and then balance on one leg. That's all you do. Balance for one leg. Okay, it's not that bad. Now close your eyes for 10 seconds and then open them again. Just 10 seconds. Now the moment you open your eyes, what happened? There was more stability. With your eyes closed, now you can sit down. Now with your eyes closed, you started swaying very quickly. And the moment you opened your eyes, automatically everything became stable. So is our balance vestibular or is it visual? Actually, your vestibular system is a slower responding system to when you're going off balance. But our balance is actually visual vestibular. So you need both of these systems to work together. So your visual system tells you what a straight line is. And the moment you go off axis, it responds much faster and it brings you back and it aligns you. So our balance is visual vestibular. It's not vestibular, it's not visual, it's visual vestibular. So both of these systems and both of these professions you need to maintain your balance. This was a patient I'd seen. He was referred by the school for poor academic progress. Mom was very annoyed when she came because his specs was 5 months old only. But she needed to tick the box because the teachers were harassing her. His best vision, we found, was only 60%. Okay. I could maybe improve it to 10% better, but I didn't see it significant enough. 10% vision, it wasn't going to change his academic progress. I told the mom, I said, just leave it. When he speaks, because he was very clumsy also, I said his specs will probably break in another year's time. Then we change his lenses and specs because he would have outgrown it. But for now, 10% vision, he had a very high script. For her to spend 2,000 or 3,000 Rand on specs, I didn't think it was worth it. Okay. She wanted us to change specs. I said, no, I can't put my name to something which actually is not going to produce results. It's not worth it. I said, you're going to waste money. Don't waste. Okay. So I said, leave it as is. But what I did offer, I said, look, he's very clumsy. He bumps even in familiar environments. He bumps his head every day, comes with bruises every day from school. And he's been at the school about 4 years. Okay. I said, let's try neurooptometry assessment. And we're only doing the basics. We're not doing the full neurooptometry. We're just trying to make you functional. So we improved his Z axis and his balance with prisms. I did a follow up on him. After three weeks, he'd only bumped his head once. Okay. So now we improved his anti-gravity. This is all we improved. When he came for his eye test again a year later, he had broken his arm on the jungle gym. Now I took this as a good sign. No, okay. I know it sounds bad. But this was a good sign because before he couldn't get onto the jungle gym. And if he was experimenting on the jungle gym, it means there was a sign of confidence in him now. So he'd probably experimented and he fell, he broke his arm, but he was fine. He was definitely more pleasant and interactive, and his academic performance improved. And that's really what we've done. There wasn't a significant improvement in your, you said vision. He was maybe on 70% vision now, but he wasn't 100% vision, but he was definitely more comfortable. Okay. And mom was also more pleasant, okay, because she saw some progress in him. Okay. And we'd monitored him now for maybe about 4 years now, and he's been stable, very different child now, and we're leaving him there where he is. So your gross motor skills always have to be attended to before your fine motor development. Otherwise, if you have gross motor issues, you're going to have fine motor issues as well. Okay. So one of the things we do here, we check your sit-ups. So we do, these are like Kraus-Weber sit-ups where your legs are flat. Okay. Your knees aren't lifted. And this helps to check your back muscles to see if they're strong enough. This is beside your normal sit-ups. Because if a child can't sit still, they can't concentrate. You know, in English they say, the mind can absorb what the seat can endure. If you can sit still, you can concentrate. It's as simple as that. And sometimes on there, you'll need to check with a balance board and balance beam also for some of them, especially when we do the neuro assessments. Okay. But who really works a lot on this? Your chiropractor, because you need alignment. Your occupational therapist and your kinetics. These are the people who are actually going to, then we refer out to these people because they are the ones now who are going to do a much better job with this. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have this, okay, in class. And these old discs with the 20-degree slant, they're still better. And if you're looking, though, the one on the right, her pencil grip is actually also off. Okay, she's got a bit of a thumb wrap pencil. So these are also things which you should check when the children. So we also give, as part of our routine ITs, we give them to write something, write their letters, write their numbers, and even write some sentences if they can, or even draw something for us. The second circle of development is where is something? Okay, where is something in space? Okay, not only where. So if you look at where it is on the retina. So if I look at something like now I'm looking at the computer, it's on the center of my retina, the back of my eye. If I shift my gaze to another object and I shift my body, automatically that picture, that object will still be in the center of my retina. So it'll give me information on the clarity of it and relatively in space, but it didn't give me a full field of view. But information also comes when I turn my neck. So the moment I turn my neck, it gives me information that this thing is now maybe on the right-hand side. And then I start forming a picture of my visual world. So the posture of the binocular system, which way it's looking, the posture of your neck, everything starts getting is interlinked. And this is how we start getting stereopsis and depth perception as well. So binocular vision is actually the ability to coordinate the two eyes together. So yes, we're all born with two eyes and we must learn to team them together. Some people can, some don't. It's like having one leg can't run faster than the other leg. Okay. Where are you going to go to? Okay. So both legs have to work together. Both eyes have to work together. And this here now also, where is something, your eye tracking ability falls under this system. Now the where is something relates to any sense. If you hear a sound that's louder on your left, automatically you'll turn left. You see a movement on the right, automatically you'll turn, because this is what we need for safety and to be able to orientate in space. So this is your tracking ability. So we can read, but people have poor tracking abilities. They lose their place and they use their finger. This is actually proprioception, because now your brain knows where your finger is, and they'll start skipping words. And you'll also notice as a teacher, listening comprehension is better than reading comprehension because they missed out. This is what poor eye tracking looks like. So now a person gets lost. Now, although you can see the words, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Even here, the words are clear, but because you stop at the wrong places, it doesn't make sense. And when you're tracking and you jumping to the next word, you don't only looking at one word, but you'll also see the word next to it. And you start making a judgment call how big the word is and how far you have to jump into the word, because you'll jump 40% into a word. You don't jump to the first letter of the word and then phonetically read every word. Like the word television, you've read it 1,000 times. So if you want fluency of reading, you'll actually jump 40% into the word and you'll see the picture of the word. This is one of the tests that we use. So we standardize the test vertically and horizontally. And then we check it against your age and your grade and yourself as well. Because sometimes you're just a slow reader, but your eye tracking is good. Sometimes you're a good reader, but your eye tracking is poor. So we can differentiate between this here. So in sports, eye tracking is important because there's no time to move your head. Your visual world has to be fast enough to create a reaction. This is what made Jonty Rhodes very good. His visual skills were very good and his reaction time was good. And without him taking his eye too far off the other players, he could reach for the ball and reorientate himself in space. So your convergence is also important, because when you're looking at something, your eyes have to turn in. But sometimes the eyes can't manage to turn in all the time. It doesn't have the reserve energy. And the child has to use excessive effort to maintain the fixation on the reading task. So these are children you'll find they duplicate letters. They'll keep rereading words. And if you look at there, now the words are clear. Now when the eyes are focusing next to each other, you find kind of a double vision, almost like a ghosting. Okay, let's go back there. That's how it is, clear vision. Okay, and that's when, okay. But sometimes now when it comes to a paragraph, it starts looking like this. So yes, you can read it, but are you comfortable? And the more words there are, the worse it becomes. So double vision doesn't always mean that you see double all the time. You could be seeing intermittently double and recovering also. So the more effort involved in reading, the lower will be the comprehension and the academic performance. Now, which child is actually going to persevere with such difficulties? Automatically, they'll avoid it. They'll start looking outside. Okay. So which optometrist can assess these skills? Any South African trained optometrist can actually check this. Now, do all of them assess these skills? Not really. Why not? Because we find children a bit daunting. And we think, well, they're not giving us accurate responses. And it's not that quick. And when you start working with children, you're going to have a bit more patience. And one thing when you work with children, they can sense if you don't like children. There's no way you're going to con them. Okay, you have to like children to work with children. Some of the other things we do, we use the clinical eye tracking software. Conventional eye testing is very static, so you can miss a lot of things because the eye moves that fast. The naked eye can't pick up these issues. Now we have a digital eye tracker, and it checks your infrared. With infrared eye tracking, we can see where the child reads. One of the tests we use is a rate of reading test. It's all grade 1 words: come, play, dog, cat, up, is. But they're not sentences, so it slows down your reading, and you have to fixate on every word. So we get a better idea what your slowest reading speed would be, because there's no predictive text. Okay. This is how your normal reading pattern would look. So if you look on the left, it's a very step-like pattern. You get to the end of the line, you come back to the beginning. On the right-hand side, if you look at the red and the green, the red is your right eye and the green is your left eye. And you can see that this child is focusing fairly well within the area it's supposed to focus. This is poor eye tracking. You find now on the left, the slope of that graph is very slow. So there's slow reading, there's erratic movements, okay? And on the right-hand side, you can see where the child fixated. The child is looking up towards the top of the page. There are no words there. And the spaces in between the red and the green, those are the words that they skipped. Okay. This is also poor eye tracking. Now, this you pick up, especially grade 1 and 2, all children do well. But when they get to grade 3 and these problems surface, automatically what the parents say is the grade 1 and 2 teacher was fantastic, but this grade 3 teacher, no good. Okay, they no good. They must be on their phone all day, or they have other issues. They're busy because this child can't comprehend, because it doesn't make sense what you're reading. There's no coherency in the sentence structure because the child is looking all over. So they're reading the words, but there's no comprehension. This child here is squirming. So this child couldn't stand still. Poor core strength as well. Couldn't stand. Tracking is all over the place. Okay. This is the same child now. We stabilize their body posture. And we use something magical here. Okay. If you just look at that again, this is the same child. Okay. Slow reading, right? Stuck. Now the child is more focused. And the only thing we did, we put a bean bag on the child's head. Now the bean bag, and no instructions. The bean bag gave this child feedback, tactile feedback that I'm moving too much. We didn't say you need to keep the bean bag still. No, we just put the bean bag. Everybody, they know what to do. So don't over-explain something. Put the bean bag on the head, the eye tracking improved. So we know this child has to start with Cairo and the child has to go to OT as well. So core strength is important here. And a trampoline works fantastic for core strength as well. Okay. So saccades, basically you're jumping from one thing to the other. This is your normal saccades. This is a poor reader. You can see on the right-hand side, they skip a lot of numbers. But you'll also find that the horizontal lines are actually much longer than what it is on here, which means this child paused longer at the same place. So there's poor automaticity because they were thinking about the numbers, and if they're reading, it's also going to fixate longer. So there's poor automaticity of reading and their phonics, and they're reading phonetically as well. This is also poor saccades. Some of these here, the horizontal lines are very small because they didn't pause long enough to actually read. They kept flicking their eyes. Okay. So your peripheral vision in sports, obviously, we said it allows you to see everything out of the corner of your eye. Okay. So pursuits are now when you track across a line and you go across a word smoothly. So you kind of have this wave-like pattern. This child here, you can see they started off quite well, and then after 14 seconds, the whole system caved in. And just think what this child looks like after 6 hours of school, and then homework, and extramurals, and all your other interventions. And you wonder why the child is miserable. Okay. So your dynamic visual acuity allows you to see moving objects. So especially your fast moving sports. So sometimes you'll find these children say the ball is coming, but they lost focus of the ball. Okay. There are different uses of eye tracker. We won't really go into, but sports, concussions, we use it for autism. We see lots of autistic kids as well. And if you've seen one autistic, you've seen one. Okay. For psychology, marketing and advertising. Okay. I want you to read this here. Okay. So this child is a very avid fisherman. Okay. Philippa, do you know what fish this child caught? When you see the fish.
Zakkie. I went to fish. It was one of those days. I caught a paluki. A paluki.
So now she says, I went to fish. It was one of those days, and I caught absolutely nothing. This is the most common fish caught. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Nothing. Oh, man.
This is the most famous fish caught by every husband when they go.
Absolutely nothing. Oh,
Yes.
Nunus.
And these are the children you want to help. Okay. And this is
Yes.
what makes all of these things worthwhile. Okay. Your
Oh,
third circle is what is something? Can you see something clearly? Can you hear something clearly? Can you discern what was said to you? Okay. And this is your storage, your retrieval system, and things. From an optometry point of view, you want clarity when you're looking from one distance to another. And sometimes you'll find these children, they're looking up at the board and they can't see. So it takes a few seconds to clear.
yes. They lose their place, hey?
They lose their place. They can't see it, so they have to pause. Then they look at the book, they have to pause. In the process, you forget what you read. And what also happens is you can't get done with your work. If you don't get done, you're not going to play. So they copy from the child next to them. And they'll confuse similar words because they'll just do substitutions. And this is what it looks like. So, yes, you can read it, but the vision fluctuates. And obviously, this is what you're going to find in class. Okay.
Josh, shame.
And
then they get
and they can
diagnosed ADHD when actually they have just
yes,
got a vision issue.
yes. And a lot of them get diagnosed with ADHD and they have core strength issues because their spine is
Or low
off,
tone.
low tone. Now, sometimes you just go to the chiropractor, they panel beat you a little bit, and you're far away. The child is in a better space. Okay. Sometimes small things also work. So we're looking at the bigger things or the more complicated things. So this child here was an ophthalmologist referral, struggling to see at school, but his prescription was fluctuating. And this child actually said to me that his specs zooms in too much. In other words, it was quite strong. He could see with it, but it was uncomfortable for him. So he had specs, but he was uncomfortable. And being an obedient child, he listened to his mom and he wore his specs, but he was not a happy camper. Okay, the ophthalmologist also said, look, see whatever you can find. He gave some options. Then his school performance wasn't too bad, but he couldn't complete the work. Ophthalmologist said, look, love your opinion here. So we found that he had latent hyper. Latent hyper means that although you find a high prescription, he can do with a lower prescription. And he had accommodative instability. So do you always need to give the maximum script? No. We work on the philosophy that less is more and slower is faster. So we gave him lower powered specs, okay, to stabilize his vision. That's it. Although we found a high prescription, we stabilized his vision and he was a happy camper. That's all we need. That's all we done for. We didn't do any vision therapy on him. Okay. So for these ADD children, should you add the medication? There are a lot of mimics. Okay. So one of the things is the child has a core strength problem. The child has visual issues. There is relocation.
Sensory
There's
processing issues.
Yes. There's bullying. There's abuse. There's divorce. All of these things can make a child look like they're ADHD. So we have to really go through the list before you actually diagnose these children. And also check their eating habits. Ask the children themselves. They'll tell you they had chocolates for school lunch. Okay. Now, I know there was a study many years ago in Pinetown in the 90s where they found more English children in the grade 3 class were on Ritalin compared to the Afrikaans children. Now, you had a fairly close community. So it should have been the same. But when they investigated further, they found that the English parents were financially better off than the Afrikaans parents, which means both parents are working. And then what you're going to get for lunch?
Getting sugary,
Money. Yep.
processed
Whatever.
food,
You buy one.
junk food.
Yep. Now you get a sugar high and you get a sugar low. So you're all over the place in the beginning, and before break, you want to depress. After break, you're up, then you're down again. So they just changed their diet, and that helped everything. Okay. And then your speech and auditory, your communication comes in as well. Okay. What do I know about it and what can I tell you about it? Your auditory analysis skills, audiologists will test this for you. Because sometimes, and always try to do a central auditory processing assessment, not your normal reading screenings, because these don't have the same impact. If you look, this is how the auditory analysis test looks. But now the problem with number 12, this is the biggest problem in today. You say clap, now say it again, but don't say the k. All the children in this modern era say app. Okay. Because they know apps. They don't know what a lap is, but they know what app is. So you're going to have to check your environment and what type of profile your children have. Junior dyslexia testing also we can do, but I don't do it. I have the test, I don't do it because the psychologist can do the SE test, which I think is going to give you actually much more accurate information, or the UCT or the WISC or Edinburgh is going to give you more information for our grade 1 and 2 children. Okay, so these tests exist, but I would prefer these other tests actually. The senior dyslexia test is a bit better that we do. It's also from the Stark Griffin Academy, grades 3 to 12. And what I like about it is it grades the child, and the child doesn't get all the accommodations. You have to grade them according to the level of the dyslexia and then give them the minimum accommodations. You don't have to pamper the child too much. Otherwise, they become jellyfish. They don't think and they don't do anymore. So there are your different categories. But there is the other slide here is like a dyslexia for dummies slide. Okay. It's a bit easier. Visual dyslexia, you can read the phonics here. Okay, this is a visual dyslexia. So phonetically, this is correct. If it's an auditory dyslexia, the phonics is out. It doesn't make sense. If it's your reversals, it's obvious there. Okay. There's dyscalculia and maths also. We don't do this testing here. I did the course, but there are other people who do it. Dysgraphia, this is your handwriting. Looks like that or like that. And then when they get further on in life and the dysgraphia gets worse, they become doctors.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, okay. So that's what happens. Okay. Your Stark Griffin Academy, they do therapist courses and apps. Very important, they also liaise with government who've allowed concessions for dyslexia. And they involve in dyslexic brain research, like your fMRI. So your MRI will check your tissue damage. Your fMRI is a functional MRI, measures your blood flow in the brain, and it gives you a nice color picture. This is important, and you can see which parts of the brain are activated when you are busy with a certain task, example, reading. But it's also important in your concussion patients. You'll find that the color spectrum will be a bit less after your concussion. So when you had a brain injury or a concussion, and you go for an MRI, it's negative. But on the fMRI, it will tell you that maybe instead of your brain being bright red, the activity level, it's actually a little bit lighter red. So which means the functioning isn't as efficient in that area. But we only have one fMRI in the country. It's in Cape Town for research purposes. It's just that there isn't a big demand for it. Okay. Laterality is something that we pick up a lot. Okay, because obviously your words are the only thing that if you change the orientation, it changes the meaning. Okay. Dug and bug. Do you get inversions, bet and pet, pots and post, was and saw? These are all reversals. And sometimes we tend to overlook these also. But why reversals are important in testing, that is an indicator of early learning difficulties. Okay. So we use the psychologist test, the Jordan 3, actually for testing. And then we also do other tests with it also, because there's no one reversals test in the world that you can diagnose all people with reversals issues. If you have a good IQ, anecdotal evidence indicates, if you have a good IQ, you can pass any reversals test in the world. But this is basically your norms for reversals. Do we have to be too pedantic about it? No. I would normally say if a child is in grade 1, leave them to check reversals until maybe later, like grade 3 or something. They've had enough time in school. Yes. But the clinical pearl here is just have them write their numbers and their alphabets in upper and lowercase, and also check the letter formation and the pencil grip, especially if they're starting writing their numbers or the letters from the bottom up. You know there's a laterality problem. Okay. And this here is your OT. Your OT actually does all these things for you. Okay. These are the other tests that you use. But very important when you're testing them, asking about left and right, like your angels in the snow, that game you can play with them. If there's a hesitation, then you know there's a problem with laterality. That's all you need to find. Okay. This is how the test looks as well. It has letters, it has words, sentences, and it also has sequences as well. Visual analysis skills can be done also. We don't do it because you have to draw the patterns onto here and some of the dots get less. Because there are other people who can do a much better job actually.
I'm just looking at some of those, and it looks like a very like a school readiness. Some of the school readiness screenings have got those tests in there as well.
Yes. So I prefer the OT checks it actually, because to me, the OT is going to do a better job at it than what I'm going to do. And the OT is going to do therapy as well. And it's better that they've analyzed it and they've already interacted with the student instead of us testing perceptual skills and then sending them off. You need time to interact with the child. Okay.
I see there's a Tessa saying, please don't forget the role of the physiotherapist as well.
The physiotherapists are so few and hard to find. They hide away. They're still in dark rooms.
It says, she says, poor core strength, postural control, balance, coordination, proprioception are all addressed by pediatric physiotherapists who are trained in these areas. We work closely with OTs. Tessa, are you in Port Elizabeth? Because we don't know. If you are, please let us know. We're wanting to know if there are any other pediatric physiotherapists around.
So Tessa, they say knowing what you're doing and not advertising is like winking in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does.
Yeah, there we go. She is in PE.
She's in PE.
Right,
No,
Tessa.
Tess. You better get connected.
We need to be in touch with you, Tess.
Yes, we need to see you.
Awesome.
Okay. So, and what holds everything together is vision, because definitely if you can't see, how long you're going to take to understand the different types of chairs, the different types of words, what different types of spoons or knives are, even just for your assisted daily living. So vision is actually the understanding of what is seen. Okay. So look, the one thing we know about vision is trainable. So if you look at this picture here, okay, now it's much easier to see. You can see the cow.
Right.
Okay. Now you can't unsee it. And all we've done, we've given you the necessary skills to identify this picture. Okay. This picture here, you'll either see a duck or you'll see a rabbit, depending which way you're looking. Left to right or right to left, you're going to see something different.
I saw a rabbit.
A rabbit. Okay. So you're looking left to right. Okay. So now, are you seeing two ducks or two rabbits?
Obviously two rabbits, because I see rabbits.
Okay. But now, one thing we know that knowledge alters your vision and your perception. So I want you to change your mindset now. Okay. I want you to see, either you're going to see two ducks or two rabbits. But can you see a duck speaking to a rabbit?
Yes.
Now you see it.
Now I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you see both of them. Now you see two different pictures in the same picture because you've changed your mindset. A duck now speaks to the rabbit. So this is the importance of the mind. Your mind changes what you see. Okay. And so people can see how their children are developing physically, but vision development, parents actually don't take notice. So not all disabilities look like this. Okay. So 80% of all information comes via the visual pathway. So if you have interference, you can have a big problem. So how do optometrists help you? There's specs and contacts, that's your routine thing. Okay. We give prism lenses which help for balance, which help for your stroke patients, your partially sighted people, your ADHD, autism as well. Okay. And because these are your therapeutic things. Okay. So there are therapies also. We just don't like to do therapy because we're lazy. That's the main thing. And even with lazy eye, we're too lazy to treat lazy eye. Okay. So there are lots of different options optometrists have as well. This year was also a case here. Ophthalmologist, this child had a squint, couldn't see far and near, very high prescription. The current spectacles wasn't changing the squint. Okay. And the optom had referred to the ophthalmologist probably with the possibility of surgery. But We went with our philosophy.
Zakkie, what is the difference? Sorry, what is the difference between an ophthalmologist and an optometrist?
So the optometrist will test your eyes, do your contact lenses and these things. The ophthalmologist will deal with pathology. So they are medical doctor and then they specialize in ophthalmology. So they will do with pathology, with your diseases, with your operations, with your medications. This is their specialty. Okay.
So not correction. Optometrists work with correction and ophthalmologists work with pathology. Got it.
Yes. So they will do your procedures and they will do your medications.
Surgery. Okay.
Yes. So this patient here, we lowered her script so that you don't interfere what's called emmetropization. Emmetropization means that there's a natural inclination in everybody that you start off with a high plus prescription. And when you get here 8 to 10 years old, it kind of flattens out and you have a 0 prescription. But sometimes if you give that high prescription in the beginning, you actually you embed these high prescriptions in people. You actually interfere with the natural process. So we prefer to go lower and keep monitoring the people. Okay. What we did for this patient, we did what's called binasal occlusion. So we took part of the visual world away. So we went back in the development of the child. So you have two parts of your visual system, your central, which gives you detailed vision, and your peripheral visual system, which gives you your vision, ambient vision on the sides, okay, and your periphery. Now the peripheral and your ambient vision starts before your central vision starts. But when this is any mismatch and misalignment in the central vision, very quickly you become squint. So what we done is we took some of the central vision away so that your peripheral vision more significantly overpowers your central vision. And then this actually aligned the child's eyes. So without any surgery, and we didn't do any therapy on her either. So there are some compensatory solutions as well. Okay. So these are just some of the things that optometrists can actually do. We work with your brain injuries.
We're getting to the end. We're getting to the end now. So I'm going to ask teachers to please send in questions now while we finish off. But I'm asking Zakkie, if a child has autism, right? Let's say, okay, I was getting to that. What if the child is non-verbal or cannot give you feedback with regards to what they can see? How do you then still measure that?
We use a lot of observational cues, and with them, we shine a light in your eye called the retinoscope. So then we can get a good idea of what your prescription will be. And because your eye is part of it's a sensory organ, but it's part of your nervous system. So the moment you connect and you can see something, then the reflection in there becomes brighter because cognitively your brain is excited. For example, if I give you grade 1 reading, Philippa, you'll be bored. Now, if I check the reflection in your eye, it'll be dull. If I give you something with learning problems, this is your field and your passion, automatically the reflex brightens, you're excited. I give you the Economic Times or the agricultural news, it's boring for you. Automatically it goes dull again. So the same thing with children, once you are cognitively engaged, then the reflection becomes brighter. So we don't need you to talk. And we're going to probably get to most of the prescription just with our external exams and our objective exams. And does a child really need to see 100% vision? In the first example, the child had 60, 70% vision and he's functioning. And this is what we want. Okay. The psychology is important with the children, especially your ODD children. Sometimes you get them, you make certain you're below eye level. It gives them a sense of power. Okay. And sometimes you don't come too close into their space also. They become a bit aggressive or protective. So you judge the children, how close you can come to them, how you're going to interact with them, and you read them. So this is actually the end here. So we do also our presentations for schools. Okay. The best time generally is term 2 and 3. We don't charge because we want to educate teachers and everybody else, parents especially, so that everybody can work together. That's actually the email there. So those of you who want to. But it's good to have the whole school and maybe the neighboring schools or the feeding schools also present so that everybody listens to the same thing, have the parents there, because otherwise, believe it or not, the parents think that when the teachers are referring to another professional, there's a kickback for the teachers. Okay. So they're not looking that this teacher actually has my child's best interest at heart. For those of you who are interested in autism, this is a presentation we done for Low Vision Center of Learning. It's on their website. It's free access. And you can watch. It's about an hour long, just to give you some idea what issues they are experiencing. Okay. Right. So that's okay.
Great. I'm sure there are going to be some. Yes. So Zakkie, I mean, the whole way through, I was thinking, I must ask this question, I must ask this question, I must ask this question. So hopefully those questions will come back into my brain. But
okay.
Teachers, if there are any questions, now would be a good time to just comment, and we'll put those questions up. I know on the Google form that I sent out, the main things were, as you say, Zakkie, is how does a teacher pick up these problems in the classroom? And I think you've listed quite a few of them there, where the child is maybe sort of rubbing eyes or disinterested, or going up to the board to look at the board because they can't see it from the back, so they're coming up to look and then going back to their chair. Sort of those are the obvious things. Is there anything else that a teacher could just, maybe not so obvious things? What would be the things that teachers to look out for?
Would be those things when they are writing mistakes and reading mistakes. Listen to that, skipping words, keep rereading, getting lost when they're reading. Okay, and especially when they start copying. We had a child once that asked the child, "Do you see double?" Child said, "Yes." So the mom said, "But you never said anything." He said, "No, I looked in the child's book next to me and he was also seeing double." So children just accept it. Children don't actually tell you they see blurry, very rarely, because they've been like this all the time. So they just carry on with life. They don't have a self-pity party for everything.
Zakkie, go back to the autism link, if you don't mind. The link for the autism video. There we go. There we go. And then there was a question, please, would you come and do a talk at a school for teachers and parents? Yes.
Yeah.
I think you would. Is that, Debs, is that you from Kenton Primary? Is that Dinks? I hope it's you. It's lovely to see you. So Zakkie, you do talks?
Yes, we do for our local schools here. We do. We've been to quite a few of the schools here, and we find the impact is better when the parents are also with. So sometimes you have to have it for teachers during the day, and sometimes for parents in the evening. But you have to both have to work together. Otherwise, you have an uphill battle all the time.
Kate is asking, would we have access to this PowerPoint at a later stage? I don't know if, Zakkie, you'd be happy to share this. I think this is your intellectual property, though. This is what you use to do your talks.
I must see. I don't know. Let me think about it.
I think the main. So what I'm going to say is no, this is a recording. Yeah. So the recording will be sent out to everybody, and then the slides will be available on the recording. But I don't think we need to send out the slides separately.
The recording is better.
Yeah. So the recording is available on this link as well. Are there any other questions, teachers? Now's your chance. What would be the signs for grade R learners? What would be the signs for a grade R learner?
So firstly, for grade R learners, I wouldn't concern myself too much with reversals. Some parents are coming because the parents have to compete with other parents, and the child has reading and reversals issues. No, mostly for them, you want to see that their vision and their eyesight is good. Even if their eye tracking is a bit off in grade R and they're still having head movements when they're tracking with their eyes, I would leave them until they're grade 1. Then it really becomes more imperative that they actually have a full eye examination.
I think my question has to do with screens. Do you think screens and the introduction of children staring at screens has had an impact on their, is it eyesight or vision?
Yes. So previously, we're talking now maybe in the 1960s, there was always this thing that Eastern society was reading more than Western society. So that is why you had more short-sightedness in Eastern societies. But when this was proposed in Western society, they said, no, it's hogwash. It doesn't exist. Now, what has happened in the last 20 years, with the advent of digital devices, especially phones, and if those of you who remember BlackBerry, people have become more short-sighted. So myopia, short-sightedness, is reaching such a level that they estimate that by 2050 it will be regarded as an epidemic. That's how many people now in Western society has developed myopia. And you find the parents don't have myopia, but because of this new babysitter, the telephone and the iPad and the tablets, these children have become more short-sighted and more visual problems actually creep in, and behavioral problems also. But you'll find now, is it Sweden that's actually taking digital devices out of the schools?
Quite
Because,
a few countries
yes,
are now.
they say no, there's no proof that it works. A book is still your friend. Okay, a book, because with a book you're going to have more of your senses activated. You're going to have a touch and feel the book. The pages have different touch and feel. So your tactile system is more heightened. The book has a weight. And like you'll find with your Kindles, that you would slide across in the beginning. Then they found people weren't buying Kindles still, and they weren't using it a lot. So then they added in a visual. So when you slid the page across, you would see the corner of the page turn on the Kindle. So they added a visual. Then sales were still down.
And then the noise.
So what?
The noise of
They
it
added the
as well.
noise. So now the page turning was there. But what they can't add is a book has a smell. That musty smell of a book can't be that. And as you look through a book, automatically you revise more. So a book is still your friend, and it's definitely more comfortable on the eyes.
Any other questions, teachers? Now's your last chance. My question had to do with how do you actually track the eyes? I mean, I remember one of the basic tests was you hold the pencil and you say to the child, look at the pencil, don't move your head. And then you move the pencil, to the side and see if they can track the pencil with their eyes. But that's a very basic assessment. You obviously do a lot more than that.
Yes, that's a screening, which we do. But then your eye has to be trained in it also. And here's the strange thing. I found that the occupational therapists actually pick up more eye tracking issues than the optometrist. And this is the frustration occupational therapy has with optometry. They saying that we found eye tracking issues in the child. We're referring them to the optometrist, and the optometrist says there's nothing wrong. Because more than likely the optometrist didn't check it. Basically, in optometry, we don't want to check something. If we find a problem, we have to fix it. But if I didn't find anything, ignorance is bliss. So, but without eye tracking, the second level of eye tracking we would do, those tests I showed with the numbers, that's subjective, and then the digital eye tracker is objective. So we use both of it, because in the digital eye tracker, we can also measure your reading speeds, because we have
So is it a
group of reading.
device? Is it a device
Yes.
that the child wears? Okay.
No, it's free space.
No?
We have a digital eye tracker, an infrared eye tracking bar on the computer. So it lights and it measures the reflection, and it predicts where you're actually looking on the screen. It's not the old ones were your devices which you put onto your specs, which was very cumbersome and was very distracting. And also sometimes you put them on your head. This one is free. These ones are free space. The modern ones are more free space.
Okay. Rebecca's got a question. Should teachers encourage learners to use the 30 centimeter rule when using electronics as well as with books? And then how does one decide how close or far learners should sit in the class?
Yeah, so your 30 centimeter rule is what's called Harmon's distance. So that is your distance from your elbow to your knuckles. That's where you measure it for any person. So if you have the child make a fist, put their elbow against the abdomen or the rib cage, and just stretch the hand out perpendicular.
Mm.
And if you draw a line there, straight up from there, that's actually your distance. Okay. Some of your digital devices actually have a built-in mechanism that if the screen comes too close to the eye, it switches off.
Wow.
Yeah, I know in some of the Apple devices it is. I'm not certain about the others. Yes, so even your developers know these things. And what parents can actually do is your screen time for children under 30 minutes. Okay. So and they're not doing anything that's economically viable. And what you can do is all our children know load shedding. Put an app on there which will cut off the phone and it goes into load shedding mode or something. Okay. And that's the quickest way. They don't argue with load shedding. They'll argue with you as a parent or as a teacher.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at, I've been visiting schools, under-resourced schools, and the board is quite far from where the children are sitting. And how do we know that the children are not too far away from the board? Like, what is a good distance to be seated?
No, I think for your normal classrooms, most teachers, if they're using chalkboards, the writing and the fonts are quite big. They should be able to see from the back of the class. But once the child sits at the back and say, look, I can't see, or they're frowning, or you find your behavioral cues, then you know something is up. And you move them to the front and automatically academics is better. But
And
generally, I
teachers,
think
please don't use green chalk on a green board.
no.
If you're going to write on a green board, use white chalk. Don't use green or yellow on a green board. Oh,
Yes.
not good.
The
The contrast is not
not-
enough. Even yellow is not a great color to use. Any other questions, teachers? So, Zakkie, you do talks at schools. You happy to go and do talks specifically second and third term? I know you mentioned about screenings happening. If the health, in my day, the school nurse used to come along and do basic eye screenings, vision screenings. Do those really still happen though? Are people
It still
going
happens.
and doing school? Okay. Is it the optometrist doing it in just out of the goodness of their heart, or who's doing it?
There are some doing it. I don't do school screenings. Okay. Now we're
It must
starting
take a
to do
lot of
because
time.
it takes a lot of time. But the main reason I don't do it is because the parents don't understand the difference between a school screening, which takes 5 minutes, and an eye test, which we book our initial pediatric eye exam, is 1 hour. It doesn't take an hour to test the child, but we need the child to be comfortable and to be responsive to us. So we give enough time within that. But school screenings, you miss a lot of things. You're not going to pick up a learning problem. And now the teacher wants to refer and says, look, go see Zakkie because your child is not performing well in school. What are they going to say? No, but he already saw the child and he missed everything. So it's counterproductive. But what we have done is, because we have a few schools that insist they want us to do screenings, because my daughter is with me now. So we have my daughter and we have another optometrist. They do the school screenings. And they do charge, and there's a report that's issued with it. And we'll screen a bit more than your normal screenings, because we're going to check for your core strength, we're going to check your pencil grip, and we're going to check if your postural control is there, and we're going to check your vision as well.
You said something about a neurodevelopmental test, or something that you do as well?
So our neurodevelopment test is especially for our autistic children or our children with balance issues, etc. And well, for adults also. Then we actually use prism lens and see how can we change your world and how you perceive the world. So we want to change your input to change your output. Like, for example, with the balance test you did earlier, we took away one input. You will start swaying. We added that input again visually, and automatically your output was more stable. This is what we want to do with our neuro exams as well. Make you more functional.
Yes. So the whole point of this webinar is really just to make teachers more aware that an eye problem or a vision problem could be the cause of a child's behavior problem that we often send to the pediatrician because we now need to medicate this child because they're not focusing and they're lying on their desk and they're inattentive and they are restless. It's to just, I suppose, not just immediately jump to the conclusion that it's this, because this is what we see. The behavior, we see the behavior, so it must be that. Meanwhile, there are so many other sort of things that could be needing a test or a diagnosis, not the most obvious ones.
Yes.
Are there any other questions coming through there? I don't think so. Zakkie, so your last words or final words before we say goodnight?
We need a team to work with the children. We can't do this alone. It's like your 4 blind people coming to the elephant. Everybody finds something different. And then sometimes we feel that if you're coming to an optometrist, I feel I must find the solution in vision. Otherwise, I don't look good to the parent or to the teacher. But I might not have the solution. And I need to know what the others are doing. Yes, I need to know what those pediatric physios are, because otherwise we can't send the children that way.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. It's again, working in a team. You just said it now, it takes a village. So if a parent contacts me because the child isn't coping at school and they want to know what I can do as an academic coach, I'm always going to see, what have you already done? Don't rehash what you've already done. If you've already done the psychology assessment or the ed psych assessment, I'm not going to assess again. I'm going to use what I have at my fingers, and if I don't know, I will send it to send them to the next person. Sabida, I have an autistic learner with a small eye, but also had an operation on the eyes. He, however, still writes very slowly and sometimes is very reluctant to write on the board. Orally is actually very good. Sabida, is there a question there? Are you asking whether he needs to possibly visit Dr. Abdol, Zakkie? Are you asking whether he needs to be sent maybe for a more thorough exam there? I'm not sure.
You would probably need to, especially if you've had operations in the eyes.
How often should a child have their eyes tested? How often should we have our eyes tested?
Generally every 2 years.
Okay.
For children that are a lot on devices and have myopia, short-sightedness, maybe annually. If it's very progressive, every 6 months.
And if they already have glasses, every year?
Yes, they should maybe just have a routine checkup every year. Yes. Okay. And
eyes
look what
and
happens
ears.
with
Eyes and ears, especially for the under 7s.
And our school screenings today, I don't even think we need school screenings in our country. Your school screenings work for your underprivileged schools, but they don't. But they're not necessarily for your financially able schools and your fee-paying schools. Okay, these children can afford, and Specsavers have free eye tests for children under 12. You have Toga and VisionWorks doing 90, 100 and eye tests. Okay, for children, for anybody. Most of these parents have some medical aid.
Right.
So if you can buy 1,000 rand pair of tackies for a child, you can take your child to any optometrist for an eye test. You don't have to come specifically to anybody, but take them where you are comfortable. You're wanting a routine eye test, go there. We have a fantastic system within the country. You can benefit from it.
Yeah, so she just said, just need to know to visit the doctor. Yes, possibly I would do that.
Yes.
I think go and visit the optometrist. I think we'll leave it there. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Zakkie. I've learned a lot. I really have. And I think it's just broadened our perspective with regards to how important teachers in the classroom are. Being able to, you know what, if you have a gut feel that there's something not quite right, go and send the parents to an optometrist and check those eyes. Don't leave it, because I think we know that early intervention is key. These little ones, grade 1, 2, and 3, the sooner they get the help, the better. You know, you have a child coming to me sometimes in high school already, and they've realized that they can't see properly, and the reading has been poor, the spelling has been poor, the writing has been poor, and you just think of all this time wasted. So I think, yeah, let's work together. If you have any doubts, you can always contact Zakkie as well. You don't need to send the child to Zakkie first. You can speak to Zakkie and say, this is what I suspect, da-da-da-da-da, there's a child. Should I send him to you or her to you? And I'm sure Zakkie will say yes or no, try something else, right? It's all about collaboration, as we said. Thank you so much, Zakkie, for your time, all your effort, and I hope to see you soon out and about.
Okay, thanks Philippa.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending this evening. The recording will come your way. Please look out for our next webinar next month. We don't really know yet what the topic's going to be, but we will certainly make sure it's a good one. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort, and go and have a good evening, and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.